Hi, my name is Brandy Holton, and I am a math interventionist in Duval County at George Washington Carver Elementary. And I am really enjoying getting to know the McGraw Hill Reveal math curriculum that the district has purchased for us. I think that it is going to be extremely beneficial to our students. There are wonderful resources that are all aligned to the best standards. And I just wanted to share with anyone who's interested my thoughts on navigating and rolling out this curriculum to your learners. So let's go ahead and begin. So, just let's go ahead and start with just planning a math lesson. So, thinking about planning a math lesson, what I went ahead and said is reference this flow chart that I created, and you can reference this whether you're on um, day 3 in a new unit, or even um, if you're on day 3 of a new unit, or even if you're beginning a new unit. Sorry, I was just trying to get this little presentation up. So let's go ahead and start with, are you beginning a new unit? Because as you know, every volume has numerous units within it. So if you are beginning a new unit, then you want to go ahead and start by completing the corresponding benchmark assessment. Now, you might say to yourself, why am I completing the corresponding benchmark assessment? I personally just really like to plan backwards. I like to see the type of items that the students are going to be asked to answer. I really want to know the concepts they're going to have to understand, and I want to make sure that I am teaching them appropriately so they're prepared when they get to that assessment. So if you're completing the corresponding benchmark assessment, which there are 3 of, and again, let's keep in mind, maybe your school has decided not to give these benchmark assessments. But if you are a school that is going to give these 3 benchmark assessments, if you're unit 2 through if you're in unit 2 through 4, when you're starting unit 2, you would complete that first benchmark assessment. That way, you as a teacher have completed the work that you know your students are going to be asked to know, to understand, and to show mastery of at the end of unit 4, and so on and so forth for the other benchmark assessments. So once you've completed that, then the next step would be complete all end of unit activities. Again, I just come from a place of, if I'm asking my students to do it, I want to be 100% prepared with these end of unit activities. I want to be 100% knowledgeable of what are my students going to need to understand in order to be successful with what I'm going to put in front of them, and say, hey, this is how I know that you have comprehended this material. I want to make sure that I understand exactly what my students are going to be doing and seeing so I can make sure that I'm fully prepared when I go into the classroom every day to teach. So the end of unit activities include the unit review, fluency practice, performance task, a unit assessment. There are unit math probes. Those are um, throughout the actual unit. So they could come after lesson 3, they could come after lesson 5. Remember, these are going to clear up any misconceptions. They're going to come following a lesson where there might be common errors or misconceptions. But again, I think that just completing that before you even dive into the individual lessons within a unit just starts to make you think like a student. And then also, I put readiness diagnostic there. Please ignore that for now. We'll come back to that in a minute. So after you've completed all of these activities, now you have a really good understanding of what the work looks like. We haven't even looked at a benchmark yet, but you at least have a good understanding of the concepts that your students are going to be asked to show mastery of at the end of this unit. And you as a teacher have an understanding of, you've now activated your own background knowledge. What strategies do I know? What can I already see that I might need to work on, or ask my coach for support with, or watch videos on and so forth. So then after that, if you review the unit planner, I think that that is just an absolutely wonderful resource that's been provided from McGraw Hill and Reveal Math. The unit planner is going to it's going to give you essential info for planning. It's going to have your pacing, your materials for the entire unit that you're going to need. So all those good manipulatives right there on one sheet. These are what you're going to need for the whole unit. You're going to have a list of your learning targets, your benchmarks of focus, your connecting benchmarks, and all your key vocabulary. It's going to be right there for that unit. So it really is this just, really all encompassing place. It's just this great resource to go find all the information that you're going to need before you get into this unit. And then um, unit opener activities. So we'll get into that in a minute as well. Um, Now, after that, you want to go to your lesson one. So now we want to go into lesson one. But um, when you start at lesson one, the only thing that I wanted to say is I should have put this in here. There is going to be um, a little one page um, explanation of unit one, a one page kind of catch all that gives you all of the details for that specific unit as well. So that's something that you're going to want to review. Now, you're going to go to lesson one. You're going to look at that one page um, all of the information for that lesson, and you're going to say, okay, this is the benchmark or the benchmarks that I'm addressing for this. These are the focus benchmarks for this lesson. And so now that's when you're going to go to that to your best instructional guide, which is, the big M. You're going to go to that for the lesson. I'm so sorry I put standard or standards. I meant for that lesson benchmark. And that's where you're going to go ahead and you're going to review those benchmark or benchmarks, and you're going to annotate this because you're going to look at the benchmark. You're going to look at your related benchmarks within that grade level, which are that's your horizontal alignment. You're going to look at the previous benchmarks. That's the students, the knowledge the students should be coming to you with. That's your vertical alignment. You're going to be provided with instructional strategies. You're going to be provided with misconceptions. There's also going to be an instructional task that you can complete, which essentially is going to that's where students will demonstrate the depth of knowledge of that specific benchmark. This is typically going to be an open-ended type question. There's also going to be an instructional item. This is another thing that I encourage you to complete, and that's going to be where students are going to be asked. That instructional item is essentially how students are going to be asked to demonstrate their understanding of that benchmark. Okay, so now we've reviewed and annotated the big M for our specific benchmark, not standard. I'm going to have to go into my flowchart and fix that. Now, that's when we complete the lesson exit ticket. And we want to compare that exit ticket. We want to compare the exit ticket questions to our end of unit assessment and to our benchmark assessment if you are giving the benchmark in your building. And again, the reason we want to do that is just because we want to make sure that if I'm teaching a lesson and that I'm asking students to complete this exit ticket, is what they are showing me that they know. Are they truly prepared for the end of unit assessment? Or do I need to provide different strategies? Do I need to go more in depth? Do I need to supplement with some additional problems, maybe from the practice set? Do I need to maybe look at my state assessment workbook that I've been provided through Reveal? So maybe there's some supplement. Maybe there's something on STAR that you can push out to your learners or iReady, just to make sure that your students are getting exposure and practice with the type of questions that they are going to be asked on the end of unit. And then finally, that benchmark assessment. Um, Now that you've done that, this is when you actually start planning for your lesson instruction. And this is when you review your lesson detail page. So, um, we'll talk about that in just a minute. We're going to go ahead and get into these different components of the lesson, and these components are all directly from Reveal Math. So let me go ahead and minimize this screen and get into this other screen really fast. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and prepare for lesson instruction. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So, we just covered this planning a math lesson using Reveal Math. And I am so sorry. Let me go back to this really quickly. I completely apologize. I gave this little, I reviewed this in our school the other day, but obviously I have not practiced for reviewing it on here, so I'm really sorry. The other thing I forgot to tell you just very quickly is if you are go to the new unit and then you are not starting a new unit, because obviously you're not always starting a new unit. If you are not starting a new unit, go to the unit lesson. So maybe you're on unit 2, lesson 4. Go to unit 2, lesson 4, and start from this stage in the flow chart. Just review and annotate that best instructional guide, the big M, for the benchmarks, the lesson benchmarks. So again, apologies. Thank you for understanding. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at this. So now, again, okay, let's back up super quick. I'm giving a new unit. It's my first day of a new unit. I'm starting unit 2 with my students today. So what do I do? Okay. There is a readiness diagnostic that you can give at the beginning of every single unit. This is such a wonderful tool because it is going to capture very important student data that informs our instruction for that entire unit. How are our learners going to approach what we are about to teach them? How can we best support and who do we need to support? So, you are going to use this data to determine which learners need interventions before you even begin with that unit. So, I just absolutely love this resource. Okay, and then you're going to go into your unit opener. And again, these components are at the beginning of every single unit, not lesson, but unit. So then you're going to get into your unit opener, and your unit opener has the following components. There is a focus question, which I'm not going to reference one because everybody teaches, we all are teaching different grades. So, but if you look at your online platform or if you look at your teacher text, you will be able to see all of these in the exact order that I have put them here. So within your unit opener, you're going to see a focus question. There's a family letter. If you decide to share this every unit, how wonderful for that parent communication. You can also attach it if you use Dojo or some other sort of behavior slash parent communication um, app or platform. There is the STEM action video. I put in here video 2 only. We were explained in the training with McGraw Hill that video 2 is more connected to the actual mathematical content for that unit. And then you have your little ignite that you're going to do. So these are going to be our unit opener activities. So I said we'd come back to that over here. If we come back to that flow chart, that's what I was saying. So review unit planner. I just didn't want to say all those things and unit opener activities. That way you are you just completely understand. You see what your students are going to see, you understand what your students are going to be doing, and you can kind of make sure that it's very cohesive and that you can deliver it in a very cohesive way that tells a nice little math story. So now here we go. Okay. Now we're moving into an actual lesson. So now let's pretend like we've been in this unit for 3 or 4 days. Okay. How does a lesson look? How does just a general like lesson 2 of unit 3? How's that going to look for me? So again, here we go. Read that lesson details page at the beginning of each lesson. That's that first thing that we want to go ahead and do. Um, we've already completed all of our assessments. We've already annotated our benchmark using the big M. So we've already front loaded so much. We are ready to now like dig into this actual lesson. So you have your launch. Every lesson has these components. These are officially the components of McGraw Hill Reveal Math. You have your launch. Launch is a section for sense making and fostering ideas through discussion. You're going to have your notice and wonder activity in your launch. Don't forget, you can project that onto your screen if you like. You can also just use your teacher guide and show it on your dot cam, however you want to do it. But it's so wonderful that we have the digital version of everything here. Okay, so I do my little launch, then I go into my explore and develop stage, my explore and develop um, component of my entire lesson core. So that is that's where I'm encouraging students for exploration. So I'm starting with posing the problem. It goes in this order. I pose the problem and then I develop the math. Now, there are the two explorations that you have to choose from. At our school, we are actually going to be doing the activity based exploration and the guided exploration. The reason for that is that we feel that the activity-based exploration allows students to explore. It allows us to hook them without completely stamping the learning, without being just very direct with exactly what they're going to learn. We're really just getting them involved and we're getting them excited for the math that they're about to learn. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to solidify that learning. We're going to review our standards focus board. Then we're going to do the guided exploration, which we understand as the I do and we do components um, of Reveal Math. And then the third step is in the explore and develop is the bring it together section. Um, then we go into practice and reflect. So this is where students independently practice the concepts and they have a chance to reflect on their learning. So within here you have your practice, which is your you do, and then you have your wonderful reflection. Then obviously you're going to want to close up that lesson, have a nice little summary, etc. You can use the reflection as well as you can use some of your I do, we do, or you can even go back now and incorporate that activity-based exploration into your lesson closing if you find that useful for your students. And then into our um, we have our assessment part piece of the lesson. Sorry. And that is going to be our exit ticket. This is how we're going to inform our instruction, and then we're going to get into our small groups, which this is just such a wonderful and useful way that they have set this up for teachers and for students. This curriculum really, really is just so student focused. I just think the world of it. So your students can be grouped based off of R. They need reinforcement of understanding. B, just that continuous building of proficiency, and then in E, the extension of thinking, because we know that these learners have completely grasped and mastered. So they are ready to move on and have that little bit of challenge and extend their understanding of the specific concept for this benchmark. And then I just put some of the different resources down here for differentiation that are provided, but these will vary, whatever you think works for your students. You have your small group. You can use a differentiation resource book for that while you're reinforcing your understanding. You there's a there's a student practice book, which remember has 2 additional practice sheets for that specific lesson. So that can be an independent practice station for your B students and your E students. There are a variety of workstations. Practice it as print-based games, which are super cool. I hope you have a chance to look through uh, your little workstation box that we received. It's actually a literal box, and just check out these little print-based games. They're super great. Use it, own it are digital games to reinforce understanding, and um, apply it is where students are going to actually apply their understanding, and those are like a bigger set of cards that are inside of your workstation toolbox, your workstation box. And then finally are some other online activities, or take another look, which I am just completely blown away by, because this gives the students a very, very brief, but at least it's there, repeat instruction of what was taught for that day. So maybe that student just needs to go and just watch it again, or maybe they're completing a task and they're like, okay, I don't need to watch it again because I didn't fully grasp it. I need to watch it again to just get some assistance with my work that I'm doing right now. So that's just, again, such a wonderful digital resource. Interactive additional practice and STEM adventure. So those are all just a variety of differentiation um, resources that you can use for your learners. And then down here, I also put the daily spiral reviews are located on the online platform only. If you go to the specific lesson and then you go to the differentiation section, they can be found over there. Those can also be used um, in your differentiation small group centers. They can also be used at the start of your day if you have additional time built in. I'm pretty sure that we all do athletics, but if you're a school that does not or has additional time, they're just, again, another great tool to keep going back to different benchmarks and back to different concepts. So our students are always having exposure to these things that maybe we taught a month ago that we just are activating it within them again. So it just really makes them feel successful and it makes them feel knowledgeable and proud as learners. And then finally, the course diagnostic is another resource that you may or may not choose to use. First through fifth, they're at the very beginning, volume. They're at the very beginning of volume one in the text, and I'm sorry, they're at the very beginning of the volume one text. They're also within the student assessment pages, and then the digitally you can find them under course assessments. The course diagnostic, the way we're going to use it, the way we are going to use it at our school, is we are going to determine which concepts our students absolutely must know to be successful in the grade that they are entering in for this 22-23 school year. And our students who are struggling with those skills, we are going to pull them for a couple of months and give them intense interventions during small group to bridge that gap. That way, when they are actually in the classroom every day doing doing these grade level activities, they feel confident and have they have had a chance to work in a small group and to learn these necessary skills so they can build on their understanding and they can continue to grow as learners. So I think that that's just wonderful. So again, your school might choose not to use that, but if they do, again, it's literally everything that you could possibly need to support students with their mathematical understanding, their math growth is right here in this curriculum. So I hope that this was helpful. I apologize. I didn't practice. I just kind of opened these things up and went with it. I'm very excited about it and I hope that some of this was helpful for you. Thank you very much.